Hi, Irene.
Is anybody on Facebook that you can see and make sure our feed's working?
I don't have Facebook on this computer.
What would it be under?
Well, it's under our IFMA OC. So
Okay.
there's a link from our website to get there.
Got it.
Yeah, it's up there. So I'm looking at the big gray screen right now. I see Gary's picture as one of the last persons who spoke. So it looks like it is feeding. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Yeah, it looks live. It's live. Yeah.
let's go ahead. You should all be able to see that now.
Yes.
We can.
Okay.
Yes.
And we're queued in with 3 minutes to spare.
Woohoo!
Good job.
A 2-minute warning, folks.
Thank you.
We have lunch.
That black bar is back at the bottom.
It is, I apologize.
Okay.
Hey, Cheryl, we found another load of bricks last night in the alley.
I'm doing an alley check in the morning with some friends here. We're in the alley by you.
Sorry,
It was over.
sorry, Tony.
Yep.
Those are mine, Tony. Sorry.
Oh, wouldn't you know it? Can you guys hear this background noise or not? Are you good?
No, we can't hear it.
Oh, thank goodness. The gardeners just showed up. Of course.
It always happens.
They're supposed to come in the morning, but not today.
Cheryl, where did you find bricks?
Come here.
Tony found bricks. I haven't found any yet.
Oh, you didn't find any. Okay. Tony, where did you find your bricks?
Downtown Huntington Beach behind the Sugar Shack restaurant.
Wow.
Oh, shoot. All right. I'm going to have to go do a run.
Yeah, it was well concealed, by the way.
How?
There was some boards on top of it.
Okay.
And then we found, I told you about the one cinder blocks and the other rocks we found 2 nights ago. They were in the
Yeah.
planter boxes.
Yeah, I think you guys
Wow.
have a way worse threat, although I'm really scared of our threat tomorrow because they're it's on the bridge and I live 4
Right
doors
there.
down from the bridge.
Hey, sure.
Yeah.
Cheryl, are you down by Long Beach? And,
I'm in Belmont Shore.
Belmont Shore? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm literally 4 doors down from the 2nd Street Bridge. And that's where it is tomorrow. So
Mm.
I'm going to be over at the apartment I'm at right now, which is a block away from that, but just to be safe, but I don't know. We shall see.
Okay, folks, it is now about a minute after 3 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started here. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I know there's other people who are still dialing in. We have a couple of introductions, so we'll probably just get started with those right now. I'm going to first hand the meeting over to our chapter vice president, Jerry Eldridge, who is also serving as one of our panelists today, and Tony will do a more formal introduction. Jerry, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for taking this time out of your day to spend a little time with the IFMA OC chapter. We're all looking for best practices. Since this is new to us, it seems like every day there's new product, new processes, and organizations that are telling us how to do things and what to do. And so just bear with us. Our panelists are not here to tell you exactly what to be doing, but we're a group of industry professionals collaborating with you all. And we're just here to let you know what we're doing and what we've gathered and what we're using at our facilities. I know our plan at the OC Fair is a living document that we expect to be changing as we learn more. And I would imagine at the end of this presentation, I will be making some alterations from what I've learned and gathered from even our panelists. So I'd like to thank those that helped out today, putting this presentation together. Our programs committee chair, Tony Soriano, sorry, my radio, and Mike Lasher. Our panelists, Joe Archie, Bill Conley, Cheryl Krasho, Irene Thomas Johnson. And I would also like to thank our sponsors, Gary Bittner with Dry Master, Fred Demari from Orange County Arborists, and James Alwine with San Joaquin Chemicals. I'd also like to thank our education sponsor this year, DMS Facility Services. Sorry for the little housekeeping here, but we do want to also let you all know that we've got golf coming up here Monday, September 28th at Oak Creek Golf Club. We're still looking for sponsorship if you want to be a part, and also looking for golfers. We have our board committee that we're looking for more help. So if you want to be on a committee, if you'd like to be a part of our organization, let us know, and we'd be glad to bring you on board and help develop not only the organization but IFMA in general and help grow this business. If you're part of the chapter, or let's see, if you're members and leaders of the chapter, if you could put a little thumbs up on your screen so other people who are attending can see who you are, and they could maybe reach out to you, that'd be great. I appreciate that. For anybody who wants to volunteer their time, it takes about 30 minutes a month, to really help out each group. So we greatly appreciate that. So with that being said, I'll turn this over to Mike Lasher.
Thank you, Jerry. Folks, we are able to do this program today, fortunately, to our many sponsors. And so we have a couple of introductions we're going to run right now. And we're going to start with, could somebody mute their, there we go. Okay, so I'm not muted. You can all hear me. Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. All right, so with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick commercial here with Dry Master.
Hi, I'm Gary Bittner with Dry Master Restoration Services. We're a local business that's veteran owned. We're ready to help 24 hours a day at any time with your restoration needs. That can include things like water damage, fire, mold remediation, asbestos abatement, reconstruction, plumbing, and even trauma scene cleanup. We're an affordable partner that's qualified and ready to help. You can call us 24 hours a day at 949-492-1100. That's 949-492-1100. 1100. I'm Gary. I'm with DryMaster. Call now.
And thank you. That was very nicely done. Whoop. Next up, we're going to have an introduction from Orange County arborists.
Good day, everyone. My name is Fred DeMaria, and I'm the owner of Orange County Arborists Inc., also known as OCA. We are the proud sponsor of today's general IFMA meeting and webinar. Our goal at OCA is to keep our clients' trees healthy, beautiful, and safe to live around. OCA provides all services necessary to meet those goals. To keep trees healthy, we offer monthly preventative health care programs for disease and insect management. For existing health issues, we provide diagnosis and immediate treatment. To keep trees safe, we provide tree risk assessments, assessing trees that may be at the risk of a large branch or complete trunk failure. And lastly, keeping trees beautiful, we provide trimming for the standards set forth by the International Society of Arboriculture, and also provide removals and emergency services. If you would like more details of our services, feel free to give me a call. You can find us in the OC IFMA directory. So enjoy your webinar. I will see you at the next OC IFMA general meeting, and until then, God bless and stay safe and healthy.
And thank you, Fred. I have one more quick commercial to share, if you will bear with me. And this is James Elwine from San Joaquin Chemicals. And here's James.
Good evening, everyone. My name is James Elwine with San Joaquin Chemicals. I have been in the water treatment business for the last 30 years and the manager for the past 18 years. San Joaquin Chemicals, Inc. is a full-service industrial water treatment company. We have been in business since 1955. We manufacture our own water treatment formulations for cooling towers, boilers, closed-loop systems, and TES systems. Our full-service programs include the following: cooling and boiler water products and services, cooling tower cleanings and Legionella disinfection twice a year for our contract customers, water management programs for property management groups and healthcare facilities, and we provide our repurposed water programs to capture additional leads points. To review a few of our case studies, you may contact me at 818-612-9269. And for video access to our website, www.sjc-inc.com. You may also forward me an email, and in the subject line, please put IFMA OC. I will respond with a password for access to our video case studies. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
And thank you, James. So all of our sponsors, I believe we have representation from all of our sponsors here. So again, we're very thankful for their support. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Tony Soriano now. And just a quick introduction about Tony, who's going to be our moderator / facilitator for today. Tony's been an IFMA member for the last 29 years. He served as the president of Orange County chapter. He was awarded the Associate of the Year at IFMA World Workplace in Utah. Tony is a member of the 5 IFMA chapters in Southern California and currently Director at Large and Programs Chairman for Orange County chapter. Tony is a helpful resource. He's worked with the IFMA Foundation and the leadership to establish the student chapter at Chaffey College with the passion to education to the next generation of facility managers. Outside of his IFMA activities and involvement in the facilities management professional, profession. Tony is also the chairperson for the City of Huntington Beach's Environmental Board, and he's a director and staff advisor for Surfrider Foundation, a nonprofit 501c3 organization with a mission dedicated to protection and enjoyment of the world's ocean, waves, and beaches through a powerful activist network. And Tony, please take stage.
Thank you, Mike, for the introduction. Certainly appreciate all of us that are here today. I'd like to thank those of you that have joined us. Based on what we saw in our attendee list, we've got well over 100 people, and it's equally divided between facility managers, business associates, and guests, and other folks that are with other associations. So thanks again for being with us. As states begin to lift stay-at-home orders, it's time to consider what coming back to the office means for your business. And if you think it's time to bring the employees back to the cubicles, there are several precautions that must take place. From stocking up hand sanitizers to instituting a system monitoring protocol, face mask requirements, social distancing, body temperature scan and monitoring, as well as other precautions. There are many updates you'll have to implement and adjust workplace policy. Luckily, doctors, business leaders, and lawyers have already thought about the exact thing every company must do to ensure worker safety. Our roundtable webinar today is the guidelines and recommendations on how to reopen your facility. And you probably saw on your invites there the order of how we're going to go and proceed with the webinar. We certainly hope that you gain some important takeaways for your business and how to keep employees safe. In the end, it's your responsibility of making your own plan. Our presenters are sharing their own experience for best practice exchange and not declaring themselves as subject matter experts. Participants are invited to contribute their own experience to the discussion. At this time, I'd like to introduce our distinguished panel, starting off with Mr. Joe Archie. Joe is the Director of Campus Operations at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles and currently the Chair for the IFMA Foundation. Joe is a results-driven leader with years of experience building and leading teams that achieve and exceed goals. Joe has deep understanding of corporate culture and change management strategy, leveraging to create a career-based growth opportunity for all teams. And then there's Bill Conley. Bill Conley is a certified facility manager. Along with that designation, he's an SFP, an FMP, and he's a lead AP IFMA fellow. Bill is the national manager for facility services for Yamaha Motor Corporation. Bill has more than 40 years of experience in the facility management profession, has been a proponent of sustainable operations for almost 30 years. Bill has served as president of the Orange County chapter of IFMA, as well as the Facility Management Consultant Council. And he also served as the IFMA Board of Directors. He's currently on the Environmental Sustainability Task Group and is the frequent contributor. You get the Facility Management Journal. He writes quite a lot of articles and white papers. Then I have Jerry Eldridge. Jerry, who just came up, he's our vice chair. Jerry is also the facility director at the Orange County Fairground and Event Center for the last 12 years now. And before that, he was a general contractor for 15 years. This is an interesting part. He was the building inspector in San Fernando, helping the displaced from the 1994 earthquake. For 2 years, he was there to help. Jerry has spent the early part of his career as an electrician and worked through all of the trades. Then we have Irene Thomas Johnson. She's with JLL. Irene has been serving and volunteering with IFMA, including holding executive board positions for the San Fernando Valley chapter. She is also currently the IFMA Foundation board trustee and is serving as the second vice chair of the IFMA Foundation. She is a senior vice president for solutions development for JLL and has a longstanding career in facility operations, maintenance, and project management. Irene prides herself on being a strong, innovative business leader and collaborative team builder. And Cheryl is she's an SME for workplace technology. She is on the executive board for IFMA Los Angeles chapter. We partner with many of different subject matters. Cheryl has over 15 years working with IFMA and IT management in both public and private sector. Cheryl has developed and implemented audiovisual IT, health, and safety standards at such companies as Los Angeles Community College, Microsoft, Wells Fargo, Levi's, Stadium, AEG, Amgen, Boeing, just to name a few, and also Disneyland. And focuses on assisting large multi-layered organizations, understanding cutting-edge solutions that will better serve a facility as a whole. Cheryl has been responsible for creating and providing solutions that meet the challenges of FMs in the global environment. That's our panelist, and we should probably, do you have the schedule there of the topics that we're going to go through, Bill? Run up share.
Yes, there. I have that here, and the slides are actually laid out in the whole presentation there.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, our presenters are sharing their own experience and what they're doing currently, what they're planning for the future. There's a lot of things going on. So depending upon you out there as our participants and attendees, we have Joe Archie, for example. He's in the vertical market of colleges and universities. Bill Conley, who's with corporate facilities. We've got several different areas here. Every one of them has a different way of planning their process as far as bringing back the employees. Next slide. Okay, case studies on managing facilities during a pandemic.
Okay, so we have some of our panelists, as we were talking, who had some things to contribute. Irene,
Sure.
if you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Do you want to go ahead and start the discussion?
I can. Yep, I can. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here today, contributing to this, very, very important topic. I'm with JLL, and we've helped several clients around the country, and I have two case studies that were recently published in the IFMA Foundation Pandemic Manual, and I wanted to share just briefly two of those. I think both are extremely important in showing that, during this time, most important thing you can do is be agile and be collaborative. So the first case study is Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines is a longstanding client of ours, and they came to us with a dilemma right when COVID started. They needed to have space for their reservation sales department. It was for those employees that could not work remotely. So we jumped in, and within a week's time had created a space for them that was based on guidelines from the CDC on social distancing, based on guidelines for cleanliness and hygiene. And it really enabled them to get to their customers very, very quickly. And then they use that as a sort of a cookie cutter, if you will, for developing 5 more of those types of spaces around the country. So within a very, very short period of time, we were able to help them, and it's helped, you know, their business survive during COVID. And the second case study I wanted to share was City of Chicago. As we all know, Chicago was hit extremely hard during COVID, and McCormick Place Center is the largest convention center in North America. So they contributed by setting up hospital beds, 1,000 hospital beds, to help support the city of Chicago with cases that the hospitals could not support or didn't have enough place for you know, those individuals who were unfortunately affected. So we came in, helped them set up 1,000-bed hospital facility in McCormick Center, and thankfully they've, you know, their COVID cases have decreased. So they're currently dismantling that setup. But again, it showed agility, the ability to collaborate during a period of time when everything has to be virtual. So 100% of the communication was virtual, and we helped them, you know, set up this center to help support Chicago and its hospitals. So the most important lesson learned out of both of these is that collaboration, agility, and flexibility is key in this, you know, during this time period, especially during this pandemic. Thank you, Tony. I'll turn it back over to you.
We have a couple other people who have some content to add for case studies. Bill, do you want to chime in with some of yours? This is Bill Conley.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking specifically about my facility here, and it's mirrored with our facilities in Georgia, but I'm mostly involved with us here. Our facility managers in Georgia are taking the same steps we are, so we're sort of in lockstep on that. But our primary importance is to make our employees safe as they come back into the workplace, and secondly, we want them to feel safe. We want to create the perception that we are doing everything in our power to keep them safe from the pandemic, from contamination, from incidents and stuff like that. We have everybody, of course, evacuated the building when this first happened. Critical staff stayed here, mostly my facilities team and a couple of IT people. The return phases are happening now. Senior management came back first. Regular managers will be coming back next. Little by little, we'll be bringing people back into the cubicles. But we found, surprisingly to a lot of managers, we found that telecommuting does work well, and people have been very productive. So we're not in a big rush to bring people back. We're bringing them back little by little as their jobs demand. Once they do come to the facility, we do screening. Make sure their temperature is below 99. The thermal readers that we use right now run about a degree cool, we feel. So if somebody's temperature is above 99, then we also have oral thermometers where we can check their temperature and get a more accurate reading. We encourage people to wear face masks. We, through hook and crook and everything else, got a good number of N95 masks. And then we've also taken some cloth masks, branded them with the Yamaha brand, and hand them out. Everybody coming into the facility must wear a mask. Once they're in the facility, it's voluntary, but we do encourage people as they wander through to wear masks. We've set up our coffee stations, our copiers and water stations, things like that, with gloves, with disinfectant, with hand sanitizers, with Kleenex, so that people, when they go to common areas, feel that they can keep themselves clean and that other people are staying clean too. We've set up arrows for travel through the cubicle areas and also through the office areas. One way so that people don't pass. Our ways are about 6 feet wide, so we'd rather not have people in too much close proximity to them. We have signs on our conference rooms limiting attendees or participants in the conference rooms. We have signs on our restrooms asking them to please minimize their usage. We've taped off sinks, taped off urinals that are too close to each other. So most of our restrooms are at 50% capacity right now. We do have a small passenger elevator, which we've also asked that no more than 2 passengers arrive, and we have taped off X's in the cab so people can stand as far apart as possible. We are looking at a lot of our cubicles, especially on hallways and walkways, are the 4-foot high partitions. So we're looking at getting stackers to increase that height to 6 foot. We are also creating dividers between our cubicles. We've looked at plexiglass, we've looked at polycarbonate, we've looked at regular cubicle dividers. We're trying to go the most cost-efficient route we can, but we do want to create the perception that we're trying to keep social distancing. We've measured our chair to chair, and it's 7 feet between chairs next to each other, and it's 8 feet across aisles, across partitions. So we figure that's a good enough social distancing, but we are staggering people as they sit in their cubes. I was listening to another webinar on this topic a while back, and the gentleman from Amazon said that in his staggering of people, he could only get 39% capacity. So they had just bought a new building, and now they have to buy 2 more to accommodate all their staff. We're hoping that we don't have to do that. We're hoping that between staggering shifts and the spaces between the cubicles now and the partitions we're doing will be enough to create a good social distance and create a feeling of safety among our employees. We do have a plan in case of an incident. We've got the ability to purge particular floors or particular areas within the building should an incident happen. We have a deep cleaning crew on call should we need disinfecting. We also have a company that does electrostatic cleaning, electrostatic sanitization. They can come in and fog an area, and we can purge that area too. So in case something does happen, we isolate the area, purge it, sanitize it, disinfect it, and people should be able to come back in again. So that's sort of where we are right now. We know there's more to learn as time goes by, but we're taking as many precautions as we can, again, to make people feel to keep them safe and make them feel like it's a healthy work environment that they can return to.
Great, thank you, Bill. Joe, Archie, are you on to join in?
Oops, excuse me, Mike. Before we continue, we did have one question from Kathy Dempsey on this matter. She just asked, given 40% of the population is asymptomatic, is temp screening worth it?
Any of our panelists want to address that? It sounds like almost it's kind of a statement and a question, and I'll repeat that. It's given that 40% of the population is asymptomatic with this COVID virus, is temperature screening even worth the money it costs to set up?
This is Cheryl. I mean, I'm happy to just give you some feedback that we at Tangram, we put out a document, the 50-page document, a lot of you have your hands on already, that took in across the country different thoughts on that. And it's still very, very hotly contested with temperature screening. However, back to what Bill was saying, to show empathy and from managers and from corporations, and to show that we're really trying to participate and make people feel comfortable. The surveys that we have done and the surveys that we've received back from other large organizations, national and global organizations, have been met with, if it's an unobtrusive kind of distance scanning situation where somebody is kind of self-monitoring as they come in, it seems to allow for a certain comfort level. What we have seen across the board is if you get too close to someone and you're scanning, so if I was to say to come up to Alexandra here and stick a head scanner onto her head, that's really uncomfortable. There's a distance issue there. We're not 6 feet apart. We're not talking to people. And we've seen that across the board on every survey that has come into us as we put together this documentation. But what we are seeing is, you know, the Tory temperature tablets. I know Tony's got some temperature tablets. There's the Go Safe tablets where you've got the distance is available there are so many ways that you can allow the temperature scanning, just to, even if it's just to give comfort to the other employees that this means something for. And you just want to make sure when you're looking at those scanners that they can double as something else, double as digital signage. Maybe there's a lease option, a lease to purchase option, a return option at the end of a year. At Tangram, we look at this as a temporary solution for right now. And so those are just some components that we have seen across the board, regardless of what city and state people are coming in from.
This is Jerry. I responded. I didn't actually see she wrote that to everybody. I thought it was to me. So thank you for reaching out to everybody with that question. I would agree with what you were saying, Cheryl, as well as although we're not trying to hide any statistic, but we're trying to make our staff and patrons feel comfortable when they come back to work that we're doing everything we can to make them safe and not exposed to anything. So we are doing temperatures for people when they come on grounds before they even get out of the car, and we will give temperature readings when they leave, so that in case symptoms did come on when they were at work, we would also have a reading when they left, so we could then start backtracking and get a hold of those that may have been exposed, even if it's the flu. Just notifying them, hey, this person left here with the temperature, may want to self-monitor yourself for a bit, kind of keep yourself isolated. Just, I think it's the right thing to do for us as a business to give that safety to our employees. I know it is odd. I've been to a few restaurants now, and they just walk up and jam you in the forehead with the scanner, and it is like you were saying, Cheryl. It's like, whoa, what are you doing? Gets that out of my face. But then you start thinking, well, this is close to our new reality, and we need to accept and develop and move on, or we're going to lose staff members. And for us, in 23 days in July and August, we've had 1.5 million people that come on ground. So we're still trying to figure out that. And, are we going to scan everybody? I don't know. Maybe we won't have to by the time we have our fair again. But we have events all year long that have 10 to 20 to 30,000 people on a weekend. So, but right now we're focusing on our employees. That's our most important asset, and making sure that they're safe and that they feel safe, and that they're just not the test subject for our trying to be trying everything there is out there. Like I said in the opening, every day I get emails with different types of scanners, and now there's these pulse scanners and pulse meters and different applications. CDC is even changing stuff. So it is a moving target, and I do appreciate the collaboration, but I think making sure that our staff, when we've given that we're going to be handing out a protocol as we start to bring them back, and they'll sign it and understand that there's rules regarding social distancing and space occupancies that is good for all of us. And it's
so. I'm going to add to what you're saying, Jerry, on that. When you're thinking about putting in a financial investment into any of these scanners, look at when you look at certain ones, you can have it multifunction. So Jerry, like what you're saying, you've got so many people coming onto the grounds. What are they doing? How are they there? Why are they there? Or even your staff. There are ways that you can integrate, if somebody's coming in to park and there's a parking a parking ticket, you can integrate the scanner into the parking tickets space. I can't remember what those are called right now. Nervous.
Yeah, they're just very expensive.
Well, no, there's less expensive ways to do it, because what you're saying, Jerry, is what made it ding to me, is so many things are coming out really fast right now, yeah. Right? So there are these multifunction components at Tangram. We are using for our return to work. We are using a system that allows us to continue to use our temperature check system with easy clocking and ID badge. So everything's automated. So somebody's scanning their badge to get into the building. While that's happening, they're getting their temperature checked. And we also have a record of who's there. So in case of an emergency, fire, earthquake, anything that happens, we know exactly who is in the building. And then to Jerry, your point, when they leave the building, it scans them out. We know they didn't have a fever again, but we also know they left the building. So the multifaceted array of that, if we needed to time card them or know who's still in the building, if there was like one of Irene's buildings, some multi-complex building, right? And you don't know who's there and who's not, and there's all these different tenants there, you'll know who's in the building. So just before you invest a lot of money, make sure you're getting a solution that can be multifaceted so you don't waste the money.
Exactly.
Okay. So our next topic here is the workspace and facility configurations. Now, there's the question of distancing, plexiglass, all kinds of different partitions. And I think Jerry and Cheryl probably have more information on that. Cheryl, do you want to go ahead and start that?
Sure, thank you so much. Okay, so when Tangram, when we do space planning, right? So we take this, not that everybody doesn't take it seriously, but we were like, we have to do this in such a degree that our morale stays the same and our company culture doesn't change, and it means so much to our just how our employees do business, right? So the first thing we had to do is define what safety is when it came to space planning and what we're going to use for our dividers, et cetera. And is safety a perception or is it reality? And then through solidifying these protocols that we're going to talk about with distancing and hands-free work environments and such, we realized that it's equal parts perception and practice. The safest way to reconfigure an office, distance matters, right? But we don't want to end up being Amazon where we have to buy 2 more buildings. I don't think anybody here wants that. So we have to have a minimum acceptable distance between people. And how do we do that? Decreasing chairs around tables, obviously the easiest thing we can do. Another thing that we've done is moving meetings to partially virtual. So even if we're in the office, we can dial into each other's conference rooms, but we're also doing something called infinity meetings. So I don't think the United Way is on this call, but I'm working with them. She actually, Diane over there, coined that phrase. She says she wants her staff to feel like if they're at home or at their desk dialing into a meeting that's in a conference room where there's a presentation happening, that we all feel like we're in the same place. So we're working on extending that conference room table to your living room or your bedroom, wherever you're working from home. And then of course, adding the screens and dividers. One key thing here is at Tangram, when it comes to our organization, we're defining all of the measures we put in place as temporary. We want to allow a normal return to work, to our original collaborative behavior and environment that we are so accustomed to using and to working in. That being said, any dividers that we put up, we want to be recyclable. I'm going to share my screen really quick and just kind of show you some of the recyclable screens that are out there and the permanent screens that are out there. But if everybody can see this, these clear screens right here, there's a clear one in box A, but there's also wood in the middle. That wood screen in the middle right there is it's treated with antimicrobial so that it can be resistant to any bacteria, but it's also easy we can throw it away later. Okay, so it's very inexpensive and it's recyclable. We can recycle it and use it for something else later. So these are the types of different screens that you can have. We've got, over here in C, something that's more fashionable, but with a little peek hole. And, these go on. And then over here in I, things I think that a lot of us are seeing right now, but these are movable. One thing we've done at our office, and I don't have a picture of it here, but one thing that we've done at our office in downtown LA and for a couple of our clients is curtains. So we have curtains that we've been using as divisible curtains for a long time that somebody can put between their desks, but then we also can slide those away later when we no longer have to have this distancing, right? So those are some ideas that are out there. And if you think of fabric and how much fun you could have with putting curtains, all you need is a frame. It's really inexpensive to do something like that. There's some really fascinating, fun things out there that are happening. So think about those, but also think about this might not, yes, the curtains are treated with antimicrobial. I just saw that pop up. Yes, they are. So we can have plastic curtains, we can have treated curtains. They are treated with antimicrobial. You can continue to spray those. There's many companies out there that are using these antimicrobials right now. So, you can use your choice. We can help you. Tony can help. Everybody on this panel can help everybody with that. But yes, they can be treated. The ones that we are using right now are treated. So we'll go into space planning a little bit later in this presentation with floor planning and how things should be mapped out. But for just with distancing, plexiglass, et cetera, and partitions, I want everybody to be aware that there are recyclable partitions out there, as well as I think it's Apple is doing silos. So the big light over my head in the Newport Beach office, imagine that around your desk. And that's what Apple's doing. They're 4 feet high and they're siloed. So there's a lot of different variations of what's out there right now.
Wow, excellent, excellent. Is Joe Archie there? Maybe you can explain what's going to take place at the Loyola Law School and what's his plans for students and all the teachers and all of the different facilities they have in that environment. Joe, are you there? Okay, we don't have Joe. We'll move over.
Tony, we do have a question I wanted to circle back to. This was directed to Bill Conley. And you had mentioned that masks are required to enter, but not required while inside the facility. Is this an employee choice?
Once inside the facility, yes, it is an employee choice. But we want to make sure they have one. And this also applies to, our technicians, service providers that have to come into the building or any visitor or guests. It applies to everyone. Now, again, we do recommend people as they're walking around the facility to wear the mask, but when they're sitting at their desk or at their cubicle, we are not mandating that.
Thanks for clarifying.
Okay. As we go through all the presenters here, you do have the ability to ask questions. There's the chat button down below, and please submit that as we go through the presentation. A lot of different things here, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to break areas, lunch breaks, and staff rotation. And with that in mind, Jerry, you had some comments on that. I'm going to leave it to you.
Okay. Yeah. So, we're in the process of bringing staff back. Currently, we're in critical mode. We've got 7 of our 20 maintenance workers working, and then a couple of people in admin out of the 115 that we have. So we're very light. And as we bring ourselves back, we're looking to rotate our breaks so that we limit the amount of people that are, congregating in one area. We are allowing staff to go back and eat at their desks if they're in the offices. Normally we ask them not to, just out of trying to keep people to actually take a break and not go back to work and eat and work like I do. Can't get away. But that is something that we're allowing, just to have people, let them have their own space. We're looking at to reduce the staff members in a break area if the area is large enough to accommodate 2 people that can move freely around the space with a 6-foot distance around them. Then we're allowing that to happen. We will be posting occupancy. So if you're, we can keep a 6-foot distance, but then all of a sudden a third person comes in and there's nowhere to stand even in a triangle with keeping a 6-foot distance, then that space would be have an occupants of 2. We're looking at not allowing people to eat in a break room unless the break room is large enough to be able to not only have social distancing from where you eat, but actual social distancing of somebody walking by you as well. So again, if there's a table and 2 people can sit there, but it's in a way of a walking path or something, and then no, we'll have to not allow eating in that specific area. Some of our break rooms are small. Some of our break rooms will only allow 1 person at a time. So we're looking to, as we evaluate that through floor plans, Cheryl touched a bit on that. We're going to take our floor plans and overlay 6-foot circles throughout, over the desks and all throughout the facility to get a better understanding of who can we bring back to work, who's working so very efficiently at home, and let's just keep that working, and then bring back the essentials and or more on the critical side of business, and who can we bring back and keep in that 6-foot distance. We are asking that each person in the break room wipes down. We're going to have disinfectant wipes in the break rooms, and that each person wipes down their area that they occupied and or the area that they were working on. We're also we're putting together a protocol on just overall in the morning, our maintenance team going through and disinfecting all the surfaces, walls, chairs, countertops, desktops, keyboards, everything with a fogging disinfectant. But as far as break rooms and social distancing in the staff areas, we're just trying to make sure, again, bringing staff back and having them feel comfortable to come back and not be afraid that work is a bad place. Some of them already think that anyways, just because it's work. So we have to make it an environment that's enjoyable to come back to, and that they feel safe. And because we are here longer than we're at home, most of us. And so this is our home away from home, and we need to make it as safe as our homes are. And that's just our approach and how we want to move forward. We're looking to put arrows on the floor, and like Cheryl was saying, everything needs to be in a temporary, because I really don't expect to be doing this for the next 10 years, right? So we're not screwing partitions and plexiglass on countertops. We're eliminating some restroom sinks by just covering them, and urinals with covering those, and stalls by locking them. And but the key is to not make it look gaudy and obstructive, but also to keep flow and comfort going with that mild sense of just be aware and stay focused on keeping clean. So like I was saying,
I want to add to what you're just saying, Jerry, is we don't want to go overboard with the signage and the covering of the toilet stalls and doing too much, because so while everything we're talking about gives everybody peace of mind, we know the best work happens when people aren't distracted by concerns of their well-being. That doesn't just mean their well-being of, am I going to get this virus? It also means, oh my gosh, has my life changed so much that this is where I'm going to live forever, and it's going to be so distracting, like in the Apple world with the silo thing. That could be mortifying it would be mortifying for me. So we have to make sure that we have the empathy, needed and shown by our employees and by our managers that understand the challenges that each individual is going through. My opinion of this virus could be vastly different than Tony's or Jerry's or Bill's or Irene's. And it's all okay. We're all allowed to have those feelings, but we have to understand and show empathy to our coworkers, our colleagues, our clients, and each other. There was a question in the chat that said, are there an opt-in letter? I'm just going to throw out there for Tangram, we have an opt-in letter if you want to come back to the office. this is what you sign that you're agreeing to, or you don't have to come back. It's totally fine, whatever you're comfortable with. And we also have an opt-in letter for our clients. So we are, if I have to go have a meeting at Yamaha, I'm going to go take this form or email the form to Bill, and I'm going to say, here's my form. Either give me your form or fill this form out so I know that I meet your protocol. And so we have a twofold form, one to come in our office and one to go to client office.
There was another question that was asked. How are kitchens and coffee stations being affected? This person had heard of some coffee stations and kitchens being closed completely.
Yeah, we're looking to close some break areas, like particularly in our maintenance space, in our maintenance yard. There's just not enough space to occupy that. And it's just easier to, more practical, not easier, but more practical just to close it off. You can't, you know, you have a coffee machine, you know, maybe you put it in an area that is not confined. Maybe you go to the Keurig cups, and so not everyone's touching the handles. I think that's the key is the touch surfaces when we get to coffee and kitchens and water stations, is all those touch surfaces that people need to be aware of. And so I guess, you know, if for us, we have some areas we're going to have coffee for sure. And then we have other areas that just won't be able to accommodate that, and/or break rooms and using the stoves anymore, or whichever that there is. But I think our employees are going to let us know their comfort zone. And if you know, we're as a manager being notified that, hey, you know, I'd really like a cup of coffee, but you know, there's a lot of people that use that coffee pot over there. You ever thought about that? I mean, they might bring it up very abruptly or just very nonchalantly, and we just have to be aware of those feelings and those thoughts so that we can address that. And maybe we do eliminate that coffee station, and maybe people aren't so uncomfortable and they don't mind using it and it doesn't come up. So I think that's going to have to be a case by case. I don't really have an answer for that one.
Okay. Any other questions out there, Mike or Alexandria?
I think we're caught up to move on to the next one, unless any of our panelists have anything else to contribute on break areas, lunch breaks, and staff rotations.
Right. Again, for the folks that are out there, please use your chat button. And if you have any questions, we'll certainly ask our panelists and see if we can clarify anything. By the way, a lot of the information that's being passed over here, including Cheryl, she has a manual of all of the break areas, the way that the office, do you have that slide, by the way, Cheryl? Yeah, there you go. So this is
Yeah,
part
there
of
you
the
go.
manual. Go ahead and speak on that.
Okay, so for everybody that's on this panel, we'll have this, Tangram put together a 48-page comprehensive document that kind of talks about everything I think pretty much everyone on this panel is talking about, except when we get to Irene and her elevators. I don't think there's anything on elevators in our manual. But we put this together. This is actually Tangram, Santa Fe Springs office, and we put this together. There's 5 versions of this in the manual, and I will send it out to everybody. We offer this service complimentary. So this whole component here, where we have a health check station, PPE station, your green zones are your 6-foot diameter zones. So I mean, I think this could help Bill and Jerry with what they're doing. The red zones, it's just not feasible. We've got our sanitization station, our sanitizing capability, where we're going to use what type of PPE we're going to use. Hands-free doors, hands-free door signage to remind people that we now have hands-free doors, that you open them with your foot. So all of this goes into every floor plan that we do. We will do this for anybody on this call. We will do it at no charge. We do have to come into your facility to do it, and we do need a floor plan. So those are the only 2 caveats to that. But this information, if you just take it and just read it, will even give those facility managers on this call and the space planners on this call some visual representation of what is being used, how, and the easiest way to make some of these changes. One of the things that we're also looking at adding to this are IoT sensors to each station. So if somebody is going to go to a workstation, there would be a sensor that notices that they're there. There's the workplace technology that we use in-house that can do this for us. But it's also, you know, a good thing for any of the companies out there that do have hoteling stations where you can use a sensor. The sensor would then send a signal that says, hey, this space was occupied, please clean it. Just like when you go into a parking lot and you see a space that is open or not, you visually, the visual representation. So this floor plan will encompass all of that. And I encourage all of you to read it when we send it out to you, or email me or Tony or any of the hosts on this panel. We all have a copy of it.
Yes, great. Thank you, Cheryl. So let's, if there's no other questions, let's move on to the next, which is distancing rules. A big one there, where as you go to the supermarket or down to Home Depot, we get this mark on the pavement. So that's what we're looking at as far as practicing that. Elevators and common space areas and restrooms. Now, Cheryl did mention that Irene has some information on elevators and how we should distance. But Irene, why don't you go ahead and talk about that distancing rule?
Sure. So, you know, so very important with elevators and any vertical transportation is the distancing rules. And it first starts with, you know, looking at the facility, working with yourself or, you know, your customers in the building, your clients, to understand the facility, because every facility is a little unique. But elevators, you know, are pretty common in size, especially for the US. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So elevator procedures upon re-entry into the workplace. This is really just to demonstrate that these are the things that you really need to think about. You need to think about your lobbies and your traffic flow, you know, management. You know, what do those lobbies look like? How large are they? How many doors are there? Elevator queuing is what we're going to go into detail around, but you know, important as you get to the elevator, being able to queue, and you know, what does that look like? So we'll have some information for you. And then the social distancing in elevators. You know, we're all used to just being crammed in elevators. Well, obviously in COVID, you know, there are some distancing rules. So we'll share with you some protocol there. And then elevator programming is another piece that's really important, right? Because as you stagger people being able to get in the elevators, you know, elevators going up and down is going to need to be modified. So we'll show a little bit of that. And then, of course, cleaning procedures and protocols around elevators and those open spaces. We're going to have to clean more. You know, the buttons are going to have to be cleaned more. The cab doors, walls, and so there's lots of protocol there. Next, please. So elevator queuing is, you know, really important. We've all seen this. As Tony said, you know, you go to the supermarket, you see the queuing outside, you see the queuing inside. And so it's just really making sure that, you know, people are aware of the distance that's required to be safe. Another recommendation would be to have ambassadors in these areas that can really help people if they're unsure, or they're not clear, or they're standing too close, to help them with what that protocol should be. Next, please. And then distancing in the elevators. First of all, when you get to the elevator, make sure that only, you know, one person is pushing the button. I know today that they have a clever tool that you can use that allows you to touch elevator buttons without using your fingers. And so, you know, that's another thing that, you know, is probably a good idea. And then also making sure that you're marking in the elevator where people should be standing. And, you know, these distancing guidelines came straight from the CDC. So these are just guidelines that we're talking about today. And then also make sure that you're looking at your code implications for those elevators, depending on where you are located, within the country. Next, please. And then elevator programming is something that I had mentioned before. Just making sure you're working with your service provider, who's ever providing your service to your elevators. Discuss options that are available, based on your current control systems. And then also, ensuring or implementing maybe touchless operations in your elevators so that people aren't having, to touch buttons and use their hands to do that. And I think at the last piece is just, elevator cleaning protocols. Again, having to clean a lot more than we have in the past. So just making sure that you're following, CDC guidelines or local guidelines on how often the elevator should be cleaned. Work with your janitorial companies to make sure that those things are happening and happening as often as needed to make everyone feel safe. And this would be including in the elevator cab, outside of the elevator cab, and then the surrounding area around the elevator cabs. And then just making sure that you're using, the right chemicals for the right surfaces. So it's really important that, ethanol up to 75% can be used for elevator cab, interior and exterior, but just making sure that you're using the right chemicals so that you're not damaging the finishes, especially since you're going to be cleaning more often.
Okay, any questions out there? There's a couple. Mike, did you?
No questions.
No questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Irene. Anybody else as far as have anything at their facility as far as that goes? We'll move on to parking now. Parking is a big concern, as we all know, and it's kind of interesting when they opened up the beaches here in my town of Huntington Beach in Southern California, that there was a sawhorse in between each space. So what are we doing for parking? And I'd like to call on Jerry on that, since he has an event center where lots of parking is available.
Yeah, so seeing that we haven't had any events, we haven't really got to implement anything yet, but our expectation is to stagger parking, basically like you were seeing there with the sawhorses in between each space. You can go out in the public now, you can go to any store, any parking lot, any grocery store, and people are parking right next to each other. So if it gets to a point where we can't stagger our employees, then we're asking them to be socially responsible and socially parking. And if they have to park next to somebody else and they're both getting out of the vehicle, that they would mask up and just be socially responsible in that manner. We haven't got to how will we fill our entire parking lot yet. We're still working on those protocols. We are looking at doing drive-in movies. And what does that look like? That would be a staggered parking as well. Drive-in concerts we're looking at right now, and that would be staggered parking as well. But it's an interesting thought to have to think about your parking lot and being social distance out there. When we first start thinking about bringing everybody back, it's all about the buildings and all about the restrooms and all about your common space and the interaction. And then it's like, well, what about everybody standing out in the parking lot, hanging out before they even come into work? And, what's our protocol out there? What's our expectation going to be of our employees? while they're out in the parking lot. So I think others have made a comment as well, but we're going to have, we've got a 18 chapter protocol that will be read by all staff members that come back and signed and agreed to make sure that everybody understands what's expected of them when they come back, and also gives us some, I don't want to say authority, but if people aren't following protocol, then gives us the opportunity to ask them to either partake with their workspace requirement or go home basically. We have a lot of people that are really enjoying working from home. We did a Survey Monkey last week, and the majority of the people are enjoying working from home. I myself am not a home worker. I get too distracted, so I've got to come into the office to stay focused. I think with being able to, let people work from home and bring in those that need to, that will help our parking and probably most businesses in the same manner. I wouldn't, some of these businesses like Irene, who probably have a parking structure that fills up completely when the building's full, that's a different story. And I'm not sure how you would handle that one yet.
Irene, do you want to answer that?
Well, I'm certainly no expert on parking, but I know it's a challenge. We have quite a few clients that we service that actually have large parking facilities and needs, and so they're all working currently on what does that mean? Are we going to occupy every other space? Again, with staggered shifts and with temperature readings, does that impact how people can park and where they can park? So all of those things are being explored currently. And of course, it's different depending on, the need, right? Or how large the facility is or how many employees there are. So it is certainly something that is being worked on. And I certainly do not have all the answers.
Yeah, so real quick, this is Jerry again. So when one of our process that we're putting in place right now as we're slowly bringing people back, it will be, we're putting out a ticket booth that's turned into a wellness ambassador who will come out and screen the people in the car before they come on grounds. And our policy would be, because not everybody drives themselves. Someone might have a husband or spouse, a significant other, or a friend, or somebody bringing them. Both will be screened. Both will be surveyed with questions from the survey. And if either one of them, or if either one of the four, whomever is in the car, if they all have, if anyone has a sign of a temperature above 100 and or says yes to any of the screening questions, the whole carload will be asked to remove themselves from the property. So that would help our parking. One thing is, before they come to park, they're all going to be screened. When we get to an event, that's different. If we can put in a process that has an IR system that I've been looking at, and they're very expensive, to scan cars as they come in, we can turn them around at the ticket booth.
For thugs, always, in these Democrat-controlled cities.
Okay, so you got the cities going on. So, but Gary, you asked about how's HR's role involved in the enforcement of the physical distancing. It's really going to be HR would probably be notified that Jerry wasn't wearing his mask when he was hanging out with these other people, and it's most likely it's going to be in our own employee environment notifying others, HR, that this is taking place, and what can be done to change that, or what's the steps moving forwards.
Okay.
So HR's role would be the one that would be confrontational, but confronting the person that is maybe out of bounds with our policies and address that with them so that we can, get back on track and have everybody feel safe and comfortable.
Yeah, because one of the next question that comes to mind is, in facilities, I often see you all get stuck with the responsibility, but no authority to implement. And so
Well,
my question would be that.
Yeah, the authority would be through the document that they all signed saying that they've agreed to the terms and conditions to come back to work. And if they don't agree to the terms and conditions, then they won't be asked to come back to work. Which means our policy needs to be fair enough that it doesn't limit and isolate those that are still concerned to coming back to work. And those would be case by case, but we have to be sensitive to every factor. And that's why it's been taking us so long we're on our 18th version of this back to work policy. And it's been taking a while. We've got 8 people on a committee trying to put this together. And so and as I said earlier, every day we're getting stuff. CDC changes their mind. We getting companies that just started yesterday sanitizing, other places. And like, you don't even know how. You've never done it before. Well, I'm a professional all of a sudden, and I'm going to open a company. And I'm not trying to knock them because they're trying to be productive and make a living, and I get it. But there's just so much out there that we have to be studious and to make sure that we're doing the right stuff. So yeah, HR is going to have a busy time. HR will be.
Yeah, I feel like it's another topic that we could revisit again.
Yes.
Cheryl, you had some answers there for that.
Yeah, I just figured I'd be in interest of time. I figured I would just type them in, and if people have other questions, they can kind of see what we're doing over here.
All right, let's go ahead and move along. I know that we're not quite halfway through, so let's go to signage. In signage, as far as hand washing, face mask policy, and distancing rules. Bill, you have some things that we talked about as far as signages. And oh, by the way, there are references that we are going to, at the end, give to everyone if they're looking for masks, gloves, hand sanitizers. As Jerry was talking about, you haven't started any disinfecting facilities. Sorry about that. We'll have that available for you. So let's go ahead and move on to signage. And Bill, can you go ahead and tee that one up?
Yeah, we don't want to be sign central here, but we do have a lot of different signs up. As you come into the facility, there's a self-screening instructions. There's a questionnaire, the 3 big questions, do you know anybody who has COVID? Anybody close to you? Have you been traveling outside the United States the last 30 days? Those things. We were told not to ask those questions, but just have people read the sign. And if they could answer yes to any of those questions, then we will ask them not to enter the building. We have signage on CDC guidelines. We have in all our restrooms, we have signage on CDC guidelines and also how to wash your hands. 20 seconds hot water, blah, blah, blah. We have entry-level signs. We have, if you don't feel well, don't come in type signage. So I think we have a proliferation of them. There's a lot to read, but we're hoping that as people come in, they read one a day for a week or something like that, so they get all the information. But and again, we also have signage on all our conference rooms and all our on our elevator, on our restrooms, asking for minimum capacity. We've also any area like our lunchroom or conference rooms that have 2 exits or 2 doors, we've designated one as exit only and one as entry only. So again, people don't pass too closely to each other. One of the things now, my boss is VP of HR, so we do get tied in with HR a lot. He wants people to see that we're making every effort possible to keep them educated and informed. So sometimes the facility may look a little bit worse for the wear because of all the signage going up. On the other hand, we think it's good for our employees to understand the consequences of being ill, the benefits of keeping clean, and just an idea of what CDC is talking about. And we update that as the CDC updates their guidelines.
Great. On other, Jerry, you have anything on that signage as far as your facility?
We're pretty much like Bill was saying. We want to give more information than not enough. I don't know if that he was saying that, but that's our goal. We will be putting signs up. We've got signs in restrooms on how to wash your hands. We've got we'll have signs in the restroom on the restroom cleaning protocol with checklist on when it got clean, and what steps are that have to be done. At each entrance to each building, we have currently a pedestal with hand sanitizer, and on that hand sanitizer, it has a sign that says how to wash your hands and to keep clean. And I think that just the awareness, although we don't want to go over, right, to make everybody walking around like they're a doctor with their hands in the air, don't want to touch anything because they're sterile. But reality is that I know for me, I get busy and my hands, you could probably see me now, my hands are on my chin and my face all the time. So I just have a bottle of hand sanitizer right by my desk so I can so I can touch my face. But our expectation is just to make sure that we let our employees and the people coming on grounds, that we remind them. It's not a matter of telling them, but it's reminding them. And it's also, we put up signs, we're expecting that the employees and the patrons who come on grounds are aware that we're aware, and that we're trying to make best practices, and we're trying to let everybody understand that we're here for them. And that's really what our signs are trying to express.
Okay. Any questions out there? Mike, any questions came on the chat at all?
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions. In the interest of keeping to getting through our presentation in a timely manner, I'm going to hold off the interrupting questions, and then we'll just go through all of the questions that we have during the Q&A.
Okay.
Thank you. So keep your questions coming, folks. We will do our best to get them answered when we do the wrap up.
Okay, so let's move on to health and safety screening and protocols. And the first on that list again is sanitizing protocols. Jerry, I think you had that partially answered, but anything else on that?
Yeah, I did kind of answer that. We are, so with our sanitizing, we're, especially in a maintenance and operations side, we have a lot of guys, we come into fair, we've got 50 staff members just in maintenance department alone, moving up to 75 sometimes. So our goal is to make sure that staff don't share tools, they don't share common areas. We keep one person. Normally we have 2 people to a cart. We've got a lot of people on Nike patrol now, walking because we have 1 person to a cart. At the end of the day, all tools are sanitized. They're sprayed down, sanitized. The carts are sanitized. Any vehicles that were used that day are sprayed out on the inside. Our break rooms are sprayed out. Even at the farm, we're spraying off the corral pins, the galvanized corralling, and we have some flat surfaces along the smaller animals, and we're spraying that down. Just really, being very aggressive with making sure that the place is ready to come back to work the next day. And like I said before, we put up the hand sanitizing pedestals at each entrance. Most of us here at maintenance, we have a little squirt in our hand and actually use it while it's in our hand foamy. We open the door, so it's kind of a twofold. My hands are getting sanitized, and so are the doorknobs. Every time somebody opens it. So that's been effective. I know when I walk up to admin and I go into there, we have the stand out front of that door as well. We are looking at, I forgot who had mentioned it, but we are looking into the automated door openers and light motion sensors and stuff. So that's down the road. I just want to get my employees back right now. We're spraying down handrails. I mean, can you imagine? We got to spray down during the fair. We got to spray down the amphitheater, the seats, and the handrails and chair rails and everything every day. So that's that we've got to be cognizant of that and what our expectations are.
Great, thank you, Jerry. Let's move on to HVAC considerations.
Tony, this is Bill. If I can interject for a second.
Sure.
I want to make sure that people understand the distinction between sanitizing and disinfecting.
Okay.
Sanitizing is sort of cleaning surface. Disinfecting is actually going through and killing the germs. It's more of a longer term solution. There's usually a dwell time with disinfectant where you actually have to leave it there anywhere between 60 seconds and sometimes 10 minutes. So it'll actually become effective. So I just wanted to throw out there, and again, I'm not an expert on that, but as people talk about cleaning, I'd like them to understand there is a difference between sanitizing and actually disinfecting. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Great, excellent. Well, I'm going to have you up for the HVAC considerations. So why don't you continue on that, Bill?
Okay, well, I really, not being a mechanical engineer, I don't have a lot of information. As I said, we changed our energy management system so we can go in and purge certain areas should an incident occur. Now, there's been recommendations that, well, not recommendations, but suggestions that we go to like MERV 11 or MERV 13 filters or high density HEPA filters. We would rather not do that because it really restricts airflow. And we also have to be concerned about thermal comfort within the facility. So, so basically we're planning if something happens, we can purge and isolate areas. But as for our normal operations, we're doing business as usual. And again, any suggestions out there, I'll definitely take, but that's the way we're handling it right now.
Great. Okay. I know Jerry had spoke about the event center at his location. Anything to add to HVAC? I know you've got many buildings out there.
No, I would agree with Bill. We have been looking into the possibility of putting the UV lighting on the coil to keep it disinfected and clean, but that doesn't really, I haven't learned enough to know that that really keeps my air clean. It'll keep the coil clean and it'll keep it reduced from any buildup. But I haven't seen anything that I can actually put in the airflow system to kill bacteria or viruses that are flying through the air as they're being moved around. I would agree with the filtration system, but again, like Bill was saying, the concern of choking off the air, putting more work on your units is definitely something we got to pay attention to.
Okay, excellent. Moving on to employees and guest screening. Jerry had mentioned earlier about the guests coming to an event, some of the screening processes. The processes out there right now are the thermal on the head type of taking temperature. There are companies out there, by the way, that will take whole groups and image a group that's getting ready to come in. And we have information on that. Things like Seek Scan with another company up in Santa Barbara. And then there's other developments. It's one of these types of things that when you open your facility, are you letting one person at a time, which is actually the recommendation, but how do you get your 4,000 employees into that corporate building? Those are the kinds of things that we do have references for, but we'll move along to the next subject. We will provide that to anyone who is on this meeting. One of the biggest things right now is our next one, because of all the things that we have to do, is the cost of implementation. And we were all talking about this last week. What is it going to cost for plexiglass or any of the things that are in between? Cheryl mentioned some of the things that are taking place with the work areas. So if I could have Bill, first of all, talk about the costs that he has gone through right now. Bill?
Yeah, well, between the N95 masks and the branded masks and the sanitizers and the disinfectants and the tissues and the Clorox wipes and the alcohol wipes, and all that stuff, we were reaching close to $100,000 spent so far. Now, when we get into whatever furniture changes we're going to do, whether it be the plexi, now the polycarbonate is about $95 a sheet. Some of the furniture that HR is recommending could run up to $400 a piece. So we're evaluating that before we actually go out and do anything. But should we do what they want us to do, between my facility here and the facilities in Georgia, we're talking about another $350,000.
Oh, interesting.
While,
Jerry,
while we're cutting our budget because our business is suffering, you know.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's going on with a lot of folks. So very important for the cost of implementation. What can you do? And a lot of people are looking at shutting down facilities because they're going to plan something different. Working at home and stuff. I know I talked with several different companies, including AT&T. There are changes coming along. So this is an ongoing situation, but obviously cost is a big consideration. Jerry, did you have anything as far as the cost that when you first started, you were spending quite a lot of research and time looking for chemicals, looking for equipment, and how did that work for you? Jerry, you still there? Okay, well, let's move on. And let's move on to telecommuting and the new work environment as we were talking. And I'd like to bring Cheryl onto that. And she has things in her documents that we'll be able to send out to everyone. Cheryl?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Tony. So, one thing with our environment is, no matter how many science protocols, checkpoints, technology, everything that we install, if we don't trust our employees, then none of this is possible. So I think it was Jerry that said he needs to go to the office and some people want to stay home. We have about 30, 30, and 30. 30% of the people don't ever want to come back to the office. 30% want to come back, but not right now. And 30% want to be back in the office like yesterday. So how do we, Tangram adopted the second safest place motto, and we want our office to be that way. And I talked a little bit earlier about infinity conference rooms so that people understand or feel like they're more engaged with their coworkers if they're not ready to go back to the office. But a couple of things when you do go back, the technology that's out there that exists. So there's definitely the sensor technology that we talked about earlier, but there's also workplace analytics that you can install. You can use, for anybody out there that has conference rooms that have Room Wizards, Crestron, Extron, any sort of conferencing solutions, you can add in some display signage to that. You can add in the ability to control those conference rooms remotely, right? You can use those existing touch panels for digital signage, but you can also enable all of the staff to be able to turn on a conference room without having to touch anything. So you go into the room and you scan a QR code, and now each employee has their own access to that room. So you can also have those rooms talk back to you that you know that somebody has used those rooms, not just they were in there, but how long they were in there. So you know that that it needs to be cleaned. There are definitely added ways that we can work on to enhance this video conferencing environment. We're all pretty good at it now, but there's some issues out there where some people aren't that used to using Microsoft Teams. Maybe that's the protocol in your office, or maybe it's GoToMeeting, and maybe we want to get back into what the corporate standard is. I think a lot of corporations went to Zoom because their people went to Zoom, but I know I've heard from AT&T that they're not allowed to use Zoom, and I'm not sure that I'm sure there's other companies that aren't allowed to use Zoom. What if the staff that doesn't come back doesn't know how to use these other platforms? So there's resources out there. There's resources that are available that are light, very inexpensive. There's ways to take your existing technology and kind of enhance it just a little bit, using the platforms that I've said, using IoT technology, I'm always a resource. I do it for free. So if anybody needs any of this help, I have a lot of you, well, everybody at IFMA OC is on my weekly webinar where you just pop in for a half hour anytime. And you can ask me about these things. It's not something I'm going to try to sell you, but I'll tell you what's out there and what's available. And if you tell me what's in your environment, in your audiovisual scenario, I can tell you kind of how that would work for you and cost-effective ways to make it less, or to make it more touch-free. But the biggest one I want to cap on is, if you've got any of the technology in your rooms, or if you don't, there are downloadable solutions that can help your conference rooms and help your people become engaged or be more engaged, that have come to the market that are inexpensive, utilizing your personal cell phone or your corporate issued cell phone. And you just have to understand that they're there, and no one should be selling you something very expensive. Literally, don't let anybody sell you guys anything super expensive. Just know that there's a lot of really good app-based solutions out there that can help you. And then there's resources available like Teams training, etc. You can get it from Microsoft, you can get it from me, you can get it from probably your audiovisual or IT department if they're not too bogged down also.
Great, thank you, Cheryl.
Mhm.
Irene, you have some things to talk about. You service quite a
Sure.
lot of clients, and I know that there's different situations on their work environment. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I actually, I'm going to echo some of what Cheryl said. There's lots of solutions out there, and go for a solution that makes the most economic sense for you and your company, and don't be sold on something that's super expensive, because technology is always evolving. But there's a couple that are really interesting, and I think you should take advantage of these right now, because in the case of the first one, which is called Spatial, they're actually doing this for free during COVID, and it's sort of a virtual avatar. And I went online just recently and looked at some of the cool things they're doing, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to collaborate with your teams, whether you're in a local area or whether you're regional, whether you're global, and it brings everything virtually to the meeting. And so you can do this through a visual headset, a mobile phone, or your PC. And Mattel Toys is a very early adopter. And there's a cool video that you can just go out if you Google Spatial Mattel Toys, and it really walks you through the capabilities. I don't know how expensive it is, but right now they're actually allowing you to use it for free. So it's an opportunity for you to at least go and see what it's like. It allows people to be face to face, literally. I mean, it really looks like you're in the same room. You're able to use Post-its. If you're collaborating on a project, maybe it's in Cheryl's case, maybe it's a furniture, projects, maybe it's a space project, construction, whatever that is. You're able to bring in 3D images. You can bring in web pages. You can bring in your notes. And the really cool thing about it is it stores everything. So if you're used to working on projects where you're pulling together a whole team and you're all in a room and you're, they call them a war room, and you're doing all this collaboration, what happens to it afterwards? Usually it's broken down, it goes to different places. You can't find all the pieces, but in this particular case, everything is virtual. And so everything is stored, and it's very, very easy to go and retrieve. So that's just one. The other thing that I found that's very interesting, and we're working with some clients on, is called Mural. It's a digital whiteboarding. And again, it's another, opportunity for collaboration, whether you're working from home or working in the office, and then being able to bring all that together. So there's some really nice technology out there that could really, really help you, in this situation, especially when we're finding that a lot of employees, they don't want to come back to work. They know they're more productive at home. They can get things done. There's a work-life balance. There's no, you're not sitting in traffic for hours trying to get to a place. So we know that that's where it's going and trending, that more employees are going to be working from home. So why not get out in front of that and figure out a way that you can bring everyone together because we are social animals and we do want to see each other and we do want to interact, but we also, you know, want to have a work-life balance.
I'm going to
Tony,
add.
yeah.
Oh,
sure.
sorry, Irene. I want to say, like, spatial is an awesome. We've been playing with that. I mean, I've been playing with it for a long time. So I encourage everyone to take a look at that. And then another thing that you said, Irene, on where does your meeting go? Back to what I was saying about, like, let's think about what technology that you have. A lot of the clients on this call and a lot of your friends and colleagues have technology in your building right now, in your conference rooms, that will do some of this, like the digital whiteboarding that Mural does, which is fantastic, by the way, I do love it. But if anybody out there is using already an interactive flat panel in any of their conference rooms where you can write on your screen, you most likely have the ability to do these things without investing into the second technology. Now, Spatial's got some really cool stuff that you might want anyway. But if you're looking at a budgetary constrictions, I have noticed almost every client I've talked to during all of this, they're like, I need to go buy this. And no, you don't. You already have it. I mean, stop trying to buy stuff from me, and let me just tell you what you have. So whether it's, you know, if you've got any technology in any of your conference rooms at all, it might be doing, you might not know what it does, and your technology might already do these things. So Extron and Crestron, you have remote control capabilities already for your conference rooms. You can turn them on, turn them off, see who's using that. You do not need to add, or if you have Room Wizard, same thing. You don't need to add any new technology, but some people don't know they have this already. And then if you've got an interactive flat panel, you can already most likely record your video, save your data, email it privately, have a different login. We do this all the time at LA Community College District. So anybody out there, reach out. People like Irene know, I know, but reach out to us and let us be, you know, a valuable resource. Tell us what you've got and we'll tell you what you don't need to buy.
Right.
Okay, excellent. Okay, we're getting close to the end here and we're into the resources. Again, Irene and Cheryl and I, we do have a lot of information. We have business partners out there that are on this call that provide signages, also safety equipment and supplies, anything that I know that there's been a short run of certain things like gloves and sanitizer. We have a list of those. We have passed all of this stuff to all of our members as far as where to get things. You know, some of the things like plexiglass, which is new again that Bill talked about, you really want to find someplace that's going to be reasonably priced. So what we're going to do here, we're developing, you know, your reopening checklist is one of the things we need to do as far as resources. You can call on us, email us, and ask what kinds of things that you might need for your facility. Again, I said business partners are here to help, and we're here to help you. We have the resources website on our sites for IFMA, and also we also have the pandemic manual, which is now showing there. This is a pandemic manual that was available through the IFMA Foundation. It's a very good piece. I think everybody, you can get it downloaded, as you can see down there with the HTTP site, and that's for free. So that'll be a guideline for a lot of the things that you're going to do for your facility. Again, we really appreciate you being on this meeting. Hopefully you gained a lot of valuable information. And any questions and comments? This is where we leave it for Mike to go ahead and field that. Mike?
Yep, we do have a lot of questions. I'm going to start with an earlier one, and that is, as far as HR goes, what has their role or involvement been in enforcing the physical distancing and other facility rules implemented? Any of our panelists, can any of you speak to that?
Yeah, Mike, this is Bill. I think we addressed that earlier. Basically, HR is here to help us enforce it, but you know, their main role is if someone does have the virus and stuff like that, then they have to handle getting them out of the building, telling the managers and stuff like that. But here, at least at Yamaha, facilities and security are handling most of the enforcement.
Excellent. Next question. This was for Cheryl, and you might have answered in this comments. I'm just going through to make sure all of our questions are addressed. What foot door opening device is Tangram using?
Oh.
All the options they've found seem to impede the ADA clearance requirements.
When we send out the Tangram Second Safest Place document, it's in there. I honestly don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but everyone can take a look at that book, and it'll be in there.
Okay, and if folks, we are going to, Tony talked about the resources website at IFMA, and on a local basis, we're also going to be putting a page together that'll be on our website with some of the documents we've shared today. And then, so if we're able to share that one as well, or at least a link to it, then we'll certainly do that for you. Next question I have, this one's for Jerry, but we might have lost, so.
No, I called in on my work phone. My cell phone died.
Okay, so question, Jerry, is with the car scanner, do you have information on how accurate they are and where they are currently being utilized?
Well, we just have, right now, the accuracy is we're using the hand scanners. So the wellness ambassador would come out of the booth, come up to the car and scan as we had talked before, just bringing the scanner up to the forehead. I think that thing scans right now about less than 3 inches away. I have been in looks like Cheryl's got me maybe set up with a better option here than spending $20,000 on IR scanners. But my goal was ultimately to scan from the car and not have to get close to the car. So that's all I got. We're still in the infant stage of trying to make this happen.
I'll hook you up, Jerry.
Yeah, thank you.
Next question we have is, and this is to, I guess, probably all of our panelists. Do you have signage around welcome back to the office and what the company is doing to make the workplace safe? I imagine that's probably a lot of inter-office memos, but is there any signage to, as people are walking in, to give them that warm, fuzzy feeling that every attempt is being made to make sure that they're safe and comfortable?
We have funny, awesome, super happy graphics everywhere. It's going to be in the document. So there's stickers and placards all over our whole place. It's hysterical, but it's nice. It's fun. It's warm.
Okay. And this was a question, and maybe this is for anybody to maybe reply in the comments as an audience, is, how many of you, this is almost a polling question I'd like to throw up, is how many of you are considering waiting to return until Newsom's order regarding workman's comp and presumption for workers expires July 5th? Do what I mean? It's one of those polling questions. I think we could use maybe a percentage of our people on this call today to answer that. But next one.
I can speak very quickly, Mike. I know I've talked to a couple of seasonal staff that we hire and use quite frequently, seasonal staff, and I've asked a couple of them, hey, looks like we might be able to come back to work here shortly. Can we, will you be able to come back? And they told me, well, I'm making more money right now staying home, so I'm not really looking to come back right now.
Interesting.
So that was very eye-opening for us, not only to say really want the job, but also, what's out there that is going to hold us back from hiring more seasonal staff.
I was told that I have a good friend of mine that owns an electrical firm, and she had the same response from her electricians, and she met with whoever her advisor is or her attorney, and under the order, if you refuse to return to work, then as the employer, you can notify unemployment, and that person's extra $600 gets terminated.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's, I would look into it. I'm just saying the workers are encouraged to come back to work under some statute.
Yeah, if anyone has that information, it would be great to share it amongst the IFMA membership.
And
I will look into it.
And this next question kind of segues to that is we had a question asked to repeat the names of the collaboration sites again, or websites. And so we're going to ask our panelists to share all of this information that we can then share with you all on the resources page that we're putting together. And we'll probably add to it, but those resources will be posted tomorrow. And then it may not have everything in there, but we're probably going to be building up on it. And again, we're looking to hear from some of our business partners. If you have relevant products and services, of course, keeping in mind with what our panelists shared is, you know, we're be careful what you pay for. There's no reason to overpay for anything. So let's hope and we know our business partners are fair. So we certainly want to put them up first and give them a chance to vie for your business.
Yes.
I think we answered that one, but I'll answer it real quick. It's spatial, mural, and then there's one more called Voicea. And I think we answered that in the chat, but.
You did. And
yeah, okay,
I'm just saying, we'll try and remember to put these on the resources page as well, because it is something, you know, worth noting.
Okay, great.
Good. Okay.
That's it on the questions.
Yep, that's it on the questions. Great. Again, as you mentioned, there are some resources. We have business partners through IFMA. There's some things like security, which we haven't discussed. There's companies out there that have a complete manual, can help you with your security needs. So that's just one, but so there's many other things to do. So as Mike was saying, we'll put together a resource page and have that available for all those that are on the call today. That's pretty much all I have, unless there's anything else that you, as the panelists, want to say. And I really thank everybody for coming on today. I know we're running a little later, but a lot of good information.
Very good information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
folks.
Irene.
Bye.
Bye. Nice to see you guys.
Hey, Tony, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thanks for
Have
your
a
help,
great-
Mike.
Have a great evening.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
See y'all.
Bye, Irene.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You can see my flight leaving for Hawaii. Bye-bye. Hey, Mike, you
See you
still
later,
here?
Mike. Oh,
I'm
hi,
here.
Tony. See you later.
Okay.
Bye, Alexandra. Thank you for your help with the questions.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Oh, one comment since we're all here, and I think everyone else has signed off.